And everybody from the ENTSOC, tweet up. I'll see you in Minneapolis in 2 weeks, and I'll get you the footage. You can show it to all your friends and everything. And sorry it took so long to get it posted. You know, the Beathon 4, just a little perspective for everybody so you know what the heck's going on here. The Beathon 4 was supposed to happen Super Bowl weekend. Yeah, I think big. So the idea was to broadcast it on the Saturday before the Super Bowl. And that didn't quite happen for all kinds of reasons. I think it was just a timing thing. But so when I was putting this all together, I wanted to get the footage out to everybody, but I also wanted to do it in a way that it was everybody could see each other at the same time. I didn't want to do all these interviews separately, because that's the thing about the Insect Tribe Online Festival. The vision here is to take all of this footage and stuff that I won't be able to broadcast today just because of time, and put it into a rolling video marathon where people can tune in for 8 minutes or 8 hours and get just absolutely mind-blowing connections to people and ideas, and actually to the microcosm. And, you know, it doesn't necessarily have any parameters, because as you might start to gather throughout the day, this topic is as limitless as anything in our society. The impact of insects, the millions of species of insects, and how they interact with the environment around us every day is only part of the story. This story goes back as far as human civilization. I like to say that before we were anything else, we were probably botanists and entomologists, because if you're going to grow your own food, even before the advent of agriculture, when we were hunter-gatherers, when we were migratory nomads, we had to know what insects were where, and which ones pollinated what food, and which ones were harmful, and which ones, you know, stung us or bit us. And so this idea of what the influence of the insect has on the human society and the human mind, the psychology, the deep understanding of who we are as a species, who we are as an individual, and who we are as a collective, is heavily influenced by insects. And along the way, we've had people turn their focus and attention at the highest levels of academia and research. And this next interview I want to broadcast is, I'm delighted, the only 4-time repeat guest for anything on the Insect News Network or on the Beathons. And his name is Kim Flottum. He's the editor and publisher of Bee Culture magazine, one of the most important bee publications in the world. And I'll tell you more about some of the exciting news that Kim has for us here. But without further ado, let's go to the big board.
Well, everybody around the world in the insect tribe will recognize the name and the face of my next guest here on Beathon 4. He's the only 4-time returning interviewee on the Beathon, and he is also the editor of the national and internationally renowned honeybee publication Bee Culture magazine. And his office is right here in the AI Root Company, which is one of the most esteemable businesses, especially as far as the connection between honeybees and wax and candles anywhere in the United States. And he's also a 2011 inductee to the Ohio State Beekeeping Hall of Fame. That's right, folks. It's not just football we have in this country, in this state. It is Beekeeping Hall of Fame. I want to welcome back to the Beathon, Mr. Kim Flottum.
Yeah, it's great to be here.
Nice to see you again, Kim. And our conversations always start simple and go in many directions. But let's get right down to it. How are the bees doing in 2015?
Bees are doing better.
Okay.
And all of the stuff that's gone on since 2006, when all this kind of started, is beginning to pay off. All the things that people are looking at, figuring out what was going on and how to fix it or how to do it different, and it's not over, and there's still issues, and some of the issues beekeepers have zero control over, and that's the hardest part.
Yeah.
But they're getting better.
And it seemed, last time we spoke, you told me there was this amazing intersection where President Obama actually has a very special interest in the beekeeping, right?
Well, he's got 2 interests now, actually. Of course, when he first moved to the White House, his wife, the First Lady, wanted an organic garden, and if you have a garden, you have to have bees to pollinate, so they got a beehive.
First Lady.
And
in the insect tribe.
one of the people on the staff of the White House was a beekeeper. So they enlisted him to get this all set up, and Charlie got the beehive there, and they've had a beehive ever since. The president uses the honey to give as gifts at Christmas. They use it chef uses it in the meals that they serve there, and the president actually makes beer with it.
Oh, is that
So
Really?
Is he making beer or mead? It's probably a
I think it's
thing
beer.
seriously. Honey flavored beer. That's
It's
very,
a beer.
very gourmet beer. Excellent.
And of course, his garden's getting all pollinated.
Sure.
So,
Yeah, I think you relate to me that when he begins his meetings now with members of the EPA, the first thing he's not says, how's the corn or how's the wheat? It's how are the bees?
How are the bees?
Yeah.
to the point where he, not long ago, put out a proclamation that said, okay, we're gonna look into this big time, and he's got every division of the EPA and the forest, or the EPA and the military, and every group of people that work under him has now been directed to fix the problem.
Wow. All hands on decks, folks. That's the
So,
importance of this.
You better do it.
He felt it was big enough that it needed attention at that level.
And what's great about Kim is his understanding of the world of honeybees extends just beyond, of course, the Apis genus. He understands the whole world of pollinators, and it would seem like, obviously the scales have tipped in favor of at least the general public rallying behind the little honeymakers. But let's talk about the specifics. Now, we know that colony collapse is now becoming colony restoration. Instead of colony collapse disorder, it's colony restoration order.
We like to look at it as improving honeybee health.
There you go.
And
honeybee health all the way across the
there you
board.
go, and that's what this has led to, is a better understanding of why they weren't healthy to begin with. So.
And of course, folks, on the Beeathon, we look at the parallels and connections between humans and honeybees, and as the bee goes, so go we. It's really an indication of a lot of the symptoms, a lot of the problems that they have, the funguses, the parasites, the social stresses. There's a parallel in the human world as well.
There is, and part of it that people may not realize so much of is yes, we all have pests and diseases that trouble us, but some of the stuff is our own making.
Yeah.
And those are the ones that are hardest to get a handle on, but once you figure it out, easiest to control. And the easy one you're looking at is the monocultures of corn and soybeans in this country.
It's a big one.
That can be fixed.
Yeah.
Not easily, but it can be. But at least we're looking at it and saying there is a problem that we can fix.
Well, we return to the idea of the hedgerow. It's a very elegant solution, but most people lost, for a few decades there, lost the importance of the hedgerow because it all came down to square footage and yield and production. But now let's talk about 2015. What do you see as far as the trends in the hobby beekeeping industry? Because a lot of the people watching might be involved with commercial, but probably more so the hobbyist beekeeper.
Well, basically things are kind of going in two different directions. There's a large group of people who have taken up beekeeping because they are genuinely concerned about maintaining a bee population, and they want some bees in their backyard, in their neighborhood, to help their gardens and their fruit trees. And they're going to tackle it from an organic perspective. They want their life to be that, and as a result, they have undertaken to manage their bees without using any of the medications that can be used with them. It's more difficult to do it that way, and it's problematic in that bees get sick, and you have to do something. You either have to prevent them from getting sick, or you have to do something to help them get over being sick.
Sure.
And there's a lot of group of people who are a little more traditional and are using the medications that you use to keep them healthy so that they don't get sick in the first place. They both work, and the world needs both sets of beekeepers out there. And our goal with our magazine is to supply the information that both sets of people can use so they both are successful.
Yeah, and the Beekeeping Magazine, you must know where you can find this. You can subscribe through beeculture.com, of course, but now you made a big commercial contract this past year with one of the biggest stores in the world, right?
Well, we're in a lot of stores. We're in a lot of bookstores. We're in Tractor Supply, but we're in Walmart.
How about that?
And that makes me sit down every time I have to think about it, because that's the big. We're not in every Walmart yet. We're slowly expanding, but we're in Walmarts. We're in Barnes and Noble.
They're getting there. They're getting there.
Books A Million.
Yeah. And let's talk about something very practical, because of course, the Beeathon is not just about the overarching metaphors of the topic. It's about how do you help the bees. Everybody asks me that question all the time. So the spring is right around the corner. What are the 3 best plants? If there's cover crops or like small flowers, what are, you think, the 3 best plants anywhere in the United States someone could plant that is good for spring food for the bees?
Everybody can put clover in their yard.
Clover. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
It's good for everybody. It's probably like one of the superfoods of the world, don't you think?
And it's good for the soil.
Yeah, fixes
in your
nitrogen.
lawn. It's good for lots of different insects besides honeybees. It looks nice. The little white Dutch clover doesn't get too tall, doesn't make your lawn look bad. Perfect bee plant. Blooming fruit trees, blooming apple trees, the crab apples, the ornamental crab apples. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Can't do better. Makes good honey, and there's lots of blossoms, and bees love them. And then it gets almost any kind of flowering plant that you want. And the one I like the best is a plant called sedum.
Oh,
and there's
my mom likes it.
There's 100 different kinds.
Mom's watching the interview.
There's 100 different kinds. There's tall ones and short ones and pink ones and red ones and yellow ones and yellow foliage and green foliage and dark blue foliage and you can't. They'll grow. You can grow them in your carpet if you keep your carpet wet. So.
Simple to grow. And folks, you got to focus on the natives too. So each one of these plant species probably has one that does really well in your neighborhood. I always recommend lavender too, of course, because lavender is a spring, summer bloom. You always see them late in the season drinking up on the lavender, and of course it makes pretty yummy honey as well. So
almost any of the herbs are great.
Yeah.
The list isn't 3, the list is 300.
Great. We're going to take a quick pause, come back with another part here for Kim Flottum. It's Beathon 4. Don't miss a beat because you got the buzz. We'll be right back. Okay, Kim, since this is an international broadcast and we've talked a lot about what's going on with bees in North America, let's talk real quickly about what's going on with pollinators worldwide.
It's about the same worldwide as it is here. It's been a struggle for a while,
Sure.
and people are beginning to recognize that there are some issues that they can fix and should be fixing, or need to be fixed so that the situation gets better for all pollinators,
Sure.
not just bees, and lots of things besides insects.
20,000 species of bees, folks. Only one genus of honeybees, but all those solitary pollinators. I like to say pollination is brought to you by the letter B. It's the bumblebees, it's the butterflies, it's bats, it's hummingbirds, it's beetles, it's bugs. Right down the line, everybody seems to benefit when there's healthy pollination. And of course, we're talking about seed quality, we're talking about soil quality, we're talking about available water supply.
Yes.
These are now global topics. And this is why I like to tell people, when you dive into the microcosm, you get to dive into a whole new universe. And Kim, something we haven't talked about before, but if you could just address, I talk about this notion of the insect tribe, and I talk about how the online world and digital media and all the new advocates and social media, people showing the splendor, showing the importance of the microcosm. How do you think the 21st century, what do you think we need to do with our technology to advocate on behalf of pollinators?
We're heading in the right direction, but we're not there yet. But what we've got to do is we have to reduce the amount of poison that we use.
The definitive statement, folks. That might be, if the theme of this year's Beathon, besides the insect tribe and how cool honeybees really are, get rid of the poisons. And the complication is that the system seems to be bent towards using more.
From a farmer's perspective, it solves a lot of problems. It creates more. But from a farmer's perspective, it solves a lot of problems. It makes their job simpler. Their job is to stay in business and put food on the table, your table and their table.
Yeah, they eat their own food. And of course, I think the 21st century is defined by our understanding of the system. It's the limbic system and the endocrine system and the immune system, and of course the ecosystem. And right along with the ecosystem goes the global economic system. It all goes together. This is kind of probably why pollinators are like the poster child for what we need to fix, because if they get healthy again, we'll see a lot of other things kind of follow suit.
The phrase is made by a lot of people that the pollinators are the canary in the coal mine.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not at the bottom of the food chain, but they're very close to it. And if they're in trouble, you know that everything below them and everything above them is going to be having trouble. So
how about that? Wow. Now let's just, so everybody knows how big the insect tribe is, at least as far as Bee Culture Magazine goes. How many commercial beekeepers in the United States?
About 1,000.
1,000? How many researchers you think in working in honeybees?
Well, if you take the people at universities who are not studying bees for beekeeping, but studying bees as just a specimen insect.
Yeah.
I'm guessing there's about 1,000 of them too.
Another 1,000.
Yeah.
And then the hobbyist beekeepers?
About 120,000.
How about that? So somewhere around 125,000 people at least just in the insect tribe following Bee Culture Magazine. And that's why we love what you do. So once again, it's beeculture.com.
Right.
Okay, cool. And let's not make it another year before we circle back around. Let's check in for the Insect News Network, maybe have you on every quarter. Give like a quarterly update. Instead of a quarterly report in business, we'll give her a quarterly report for the bees. How's that sound? That sounds great. All right, actually, Kim, we got to talk about this candle company too, and on part 2 of our interview too. So, Kim Flottum, Bee Culture Magazine. When you burn a candle, you're going to think of this guy in the future. So, it's all about the human honeybee connection here on the Beeathon. We're spreading the buzz, and we'll be right back.